Hello and welcome to Who Does Rolls. Here we are again. This time we're unboxing stuff. We're doing the unboxing. So we're unboxing something I've been long waiting for, which is Star Wars Outer Rim Unfinished Business. A very apt title for this fucker. So yeah, Outer Rim, if you don't know, and the box is right there and I'd have to reach across the table to get it. So Outer Rim came out a couple of years ago now, I think it was. It is essentially FFG's Firefly, but in the Star Wars universe. It's a pick up and deliver game set in the Outer Rim of the Star Wars galaxy. It is FFG's ode to Firefly, pick up deliver game, but set in the Star Wars universe. I mean, it's a no-brainer really when you think about it. Outer Rim, set in those territories, lots of scum and villainy going on, lots of scummy villainous characters that you get to play in the base game and ships, and lots of Easter eggs of all sorts of good stuff that you would expect Star Wars fans would lap up. So yeah, I loved the idea of Outer Rim. I went for it. I dived on. I went all the way in. And it was good. It was entertaining. The big issue I had was after about 4 to 5 plays of it, it felt like it was dumb. There is encounter decks, so there's decks like these that you go around and when you go to the planets. There's decks when you search stuff, when you go to shops and things. There's all this sort of stuff, which gives you a lot of stuff, but they all felt a bit thin, felt a bit lacking. There's also this really cool deck of cards that you kind of referenced when you did adventures and stuff, and I dug into them, but I don't think we dug as much as we could have done into them. But yeah, it all felt like the card system was very similar to what they put in Fallout. They pulled cards and it had like little missions and quests you could go on. It was a cool little thematic element. But yeah, it just felt like it was lacking that expansion. It's a typical FFG thing that you get the base game and it's all right, but it needs something else on top just to polish it off. I'm thinking of like Eldritch Horror needs Forsaken Lore, or it's kind of lacking half the game. So yes, this is what this has felt all along. So here we come to Outer Rim Unfinished Business, which is that expansion which took forever to come to get here with some extra stuff in it. Let's dive in and see what is in the box and see if it in fact is delivering on its promise. And then after all that, I will have played it and I'll tell you how that works. So components wise, yeah, we get good stuff in here. We got a lot of, obviously cardboard comes in the box. There is 2 new nav points. These go at the either end of the board. If you played it, the board kind of goes down in like a horseshoe shape. These will replace the ones on the existing one, which now allows you essentially to skip from one end of the galaxy to the other. So you can kind of loop all the way around, which is a nice touch. I think that's pretty cool. And there's a set of cards that you can interact with by doing that. Aside from that, obviously you've got a bunch of new characters, some cool ones. Wookiees always good. Most of them we know Dengar's back in it now. We've also got a nod to Rebels with Hera in there. There's a cool another bunch more characters. 8 more characters in there, plus a bunch of ships, which is always nice to have some more bit of variety to that, because there was some in the base game, but there's a little bit more variety to that. So that's kind of cool. So they've got a bunch of those characters. They're obviously all playable. There's also now an additional thing which is kind of cool, that they've added these orange chits that allow you to have encounters with maybe player characters, and you can do bounties against people and all sorts of stuff. So that's kind of a nice touch. The main meat of what we're really coming down to, and what we really wanted, of course, was card decks. And in it, we get some new cards for all of these. How many of them is there in each of these? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So 7 new cards for each of the decks. It still feels a little light. I would have liked more. Really just feel like maybe it's enough, but I feel like we could have got more. Okay, well there's at least 10 or so more cards going in the actual encounters on the board, so that's kind of cool that we're getting more of that. Definitely a big chunk of that, the space encounters. I wish there was more in the shop. Feels like we are getting one more of this stuff, which these were kind of cool. There's a big one of them. I'm sure most of this plays into part of those new characters added, but there is stuff in here that makes additions to the starter cards, some other cards that add bits and pieces to it. What is cool is the new equipment and bits and pieces that they've added in. If I can find a piece of it. now I've mentioned it. They now have these flip cards that. So this one is a prime example. You won't see it very well here, but essentially they're flip cards. So they have a top section of the card that they come into play when you buy them, and they sit on your ship if they're a mod. And then often they will have a thing is if you do this, something else happens, and then it flips it, and it will have some other abilities, power up or some other good thing. So they're kind of cool, and they can be traded as well freely between everyone's ships, which is kind of nice. That's a good thing about it. This adds one of the two main things. It adds a lot of content, but the actual mechanisms that is adding are very light on the ground. We've got the course-based stuff, the jumping around ships and stuff, warships and all that. We have these favor tokens, or these debt tokens. So they've added a thing now which you can call on a favor from a fellow character, and they can give you some stuff. Now the favors are top of the head. You can ask for advice, which is you gain one of that player's skill for one skill test. So whoever the player is, what skills they've got, you can borrow one of those skills. Rather like Firefly, it's all keyworded. The skills, you need certain keywords to complete certain missions. So this is a way out of that now, which is kind of cool. A combat strategy, which allows you to roll an extra dice. You get an endorsement, which essentially is you can take on reputations from that player, plus in one of those ones you counted for that turn as having that rep. Or you can gain extra flight abilities. So that's kind of cool. So they've added that in. And part of the bargaining, you can be cash being passed hands, but also you can hand over your debt token, which essentially means if someone holds that, at a certain point they can cash that in to get one of those favors from you without any further charge, and all that's interchangeable and can be traded about. That's cool. You can pop bounties on players' heads. You can actually fight now. There's PvP in there. You can actually take on someone and get cash for taking them on as their bounty. So that's all nice, and it's not really, I like that it's adding stuff but not adding stuff. There's a bunch more stuff for the solo player, which I never actually played. It was a bit lacking first time around apparently, but in here now we've got a lot more AI cards that allow you to play either, give an AI for each of the player characters, but there's also a bounty hunter option as well. They can be added into it, I think. They can come after you. So that's pretty cool. The only other new addition is these here. These are like, they had a name. What was their bloody name? Ambitions. This is it, your ambitions. So there's a chunk of these in here. And what these essentially do is, if you ever played Firefly, there was quests, missions in that added to it. This works the same way. Everyone will get one of these. And it will be, this one is Hero of the Rebellion, so this one will obviously be themed around you being a good guy and all this, and there'll be various missions you have to complete. Numbered means you have to complete in that set numbered order. The infinity symbol essentially means you have to keep that current. It has to be running throughout the game, and then once you've reached the set number of victory points that you say you're going to finish the game on, and you've done all that, you do that, you win. So it adds a bit more. It's going to probably, it says in the rules that it's going to add time to the game. So that's the thing to be aware of. I mean, Firefly always ran long. This, we played with a lower fame count and just zipped through relatively quick in a few hours with this, actually, once we knew what we were doing. So yeah, it has possibilities for it. So just casting opinions of what we've got so far. I'm okay. It's good. It's everything more of the same that we wanted in, which is cool. I'm glad that they haven't added lots of really advanced mechanisms or rules into it. They haven't really done much of that at all. Maybe there's some stuff on the card that's going to come into play, and definitely the solo mode has got extra stuff. But the base game, other than just more content, really, we've got more characters, more ships, more cards, more stuff to do, and they've added the favors, debt tokens, the achievements, and these things. That's pretty much it. So it's easy to add to. Oh, we get some more dice as well. Dice is always good. Always like a dice. So there you go. So there is my halfway point on the Our Star Wars Outer Rim Unfinished Business. That is the components. That's what's in it. That's what they do. So, should we find out how that works? Catch you in a minute. Meanwhile, a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, we returned to the Outer Rim expansion. So this is thoughts and opinions following a play of said game. Played a 4-player game of it with the usual crowd on the Sunday. and first of all, it plays long. It was always it wasn't the shortest game in the world. It still plays long. It was 4+ hours of play on the Sunday. Probably we could have shaved about an hour off of that, because actually we were a bit rusty. It's a relatively straightforward game, but we were a bit rusty getting to it, so that maybe shave an hour off. However, it still plays long. Certainly at 4 players. Shorter players, it would be shorter runtime, but it's always going to play long. But I don't mind. You know what? That's maybe 4 hours is maybe a tad too much, but I enjoyed the experience. It is kind of the Star Wars Firefly, and if you've played Firefly, that's another game that certainly kind of almost outstays its welcome, but it's enjoyable, that sandbox feel. This is more condensed down, but what does the expansion give us is the question. So as it's in front of me, the first things up is these cards, the secret mission cards. I can't remember what they were called. Anyway, these they give you a set of goals that you've got to complete during the mission to reach the fame value on your scoreboard, and then you can complete the final mission. I had one which essentially required me to collect a card, every single galaxy card in the entire game, and then roll 2 dice basically to see if I could complete, and I did do it. That's how I won the game. But everyone was fairly close. I think Tony was trying to blow up a Star Destroyer, and that had to be brought out of the deck of the chits by doing that. So they had a thematically more interesting something to do, something to aim for, rather than just victory points. I think that they suggest shortening the victory point totally required down to 8, I think it was, rather than the usual 10 or whatever, which I get, because it would drag, it would really go on. But there's still quite a lot to do in these, so they're not. They add some time, I feel, if anything. If not, maybe shorten the victory points, possibly tweak around with that. But I like them. There's a variety of them. And they give you something else to do. I think you could quite easily play a game without them. It doesn't make any real difference. It gives you something to sort of direct towards and maybe explore bits of the game that you don't normally do, which is kind of cool. But if not, you know, the victory points is still a great end. The card decks, they were good additions. I felt that initially when I opened the box, that I felt that there was maybe not enough cards in these decks, in the sort of trade decks. Actually, to be fair, they seemed all right. They just seemed about the sweet spot. They could maybe have a few more cards in there, but it didn't feel like it was lacking in any way. We didn't get anywhere through these cards, actually. We went for a few, but we definitely seemed to have a few more of these we could explore. And that was all kind of cool, so that all worked. Of these decks, there's some really nice touches. Is they've got these new 2... I can't find any of them now. Damn it. There's some of these cards here which basically flip when you install them. I think I may have discussed it in the other video. So you have like a top and a bottom side, and you log them in. When you use them, they rotate, and there's some sort of action you need to take, or something to repair it, or do something else, or get some money use out of it. So they're quite a cool mechanism. I quite like that, and there's a few of them spread in there. Again, they've added a few little bits of business to some of these cards, just doing something a little bit, tweaking and playing with mechanisms, which is cool. We've got the whole other deck of cards here for the central core space, which this loop between there is a nice touch, and that works really well. And you can either go and have fun on the core worlds, or you can attempt to fly through them. And definitely your Imperial rating plays a part. There wasn't a lot of... We did it a few times and nothing too catastrophic occurred, but there were a nice little bit of flavour to it. So that was kind of cool. We've got these orange chits that went down. I think this is mainly just to get some more characters, the new characters, and a few others. I think all the play characters basically into the game. And they're right, they give you another option. We didn't really... I mean, they were being used... that was kind of that. There's more ships. That's cool. The new ships are kind of cool. The whole bartering system, you can get favours, called favours, and you have debt tokens. To be fair, the first couple of rounds of the game, I completely forgot that we had the option of doing that. So then we did start using it, and actually came in a little bit, and it was quite a useful way of getting a little bit more of a chance, especially early doors, to try and solve or complete some of the missions and stuff. So that was kind of a cool touch, actually. It just gives you a little bit more of a leg up if people are willing to barter at the table. And the debt chits are quite normal because they give you an instant thing. So that kind of... We did mess around with that. It didn't become a massive aspect of the game. It's a nice thing to have, and I think the big issue is forgot about it a couple of times. But it's a cool thing to call on and do. And essentially, at the end of the game, I won it for that because Tony took a bribe to give me more dice at the end to roll more dice to win the game. I think he was done at that point. What else is new? Mainly the card decks. There's new characters. They're kind of cool. We've played with a bunch of them. Though the character I was playing is, I think it was Doc Ezra or something. She is like an archaeologist in space, Indiana Jones in space. Which her ability is, at the start of every test, you can pick a keyword, essentially. Or once per turn, I think it is. You can pick a keyword that you use in a test. That's pretty powerful, especially early doors. That's really powerful. To be fair, I missed that she could do that for the first couple of rounds of the game because I'm an idiot. But once I actually worked out I could do it, that proved really good. The other characters have got some cool abilities and all that, but she seems to be quite OP. It's quite a particular leg up. Cool. They've put more cards into the decks. Whatever this called deck, I should have put in this functions throughout the game. There's cards with numbers on them relate to the characters in the game, and other cards play back to these, to like missions and stuff. There's more added into there, and we touched on a bunch of them, obviously with the new characters down, and they're all cool. Generally, on the whole, it does what you wanted it to do. What you want to do, which just adds more content to the game. Just a bit more stuff, and that was always my issue with it. It didn't have enough stuff in it. It now at least feels like there's enough stuff in there. There's enough variety in there, I think, with all the different little bits you can play around with, to get a good few more plays out of it. I felt that by about the fourth play originally of this, I was kind of played out on it. It didn't really have anything else to excite me because I'd seen everything it had to offer. This is freshened up. There's stuff I've not seen from these expansions, which is kind of cool. So it's some longevity been added to it, and it's just a chunk more variety, which I think it really, really needed. And it's a smart move on FFG's part to do that. I mean, God, who would have thought they would have put out another expansion? But yeah, it doesn't. It does the best thing I like about expansions. It doesn't really add much in the way of mechanisms. It adds a few little things. It adds these cards, fine. It adds the barter mechanism in there, and it adds a few little bit of business to say with the cards. But it's not reinventing anything. It's not adding anything massive. It's just little, easily absorbable rules, which is nice. And that's what I like expansions to do. It's just nice to add more of what you liked, and just a little bit of flavour, just a little bit of sauce on top. I think that's pretty much it. So it was fun. I enjoyed it. I will keep hold of Outer Rim because it's Star Wars Firefly, and now I feel that there's enough meat in here to get a good few more other evenings to play out of it and enjoy it when it does come to table. Downside is that it just plays awfully long, and I think we could skim that down a bit, but you're still, I'll be honest, you're still looking at 4 players, probably at 3 hours minimum. It's probably going to wing out a game off. But hey, you know what? It's entertaining. It was fun. What I wish we'd seen a little bit more of is a bit more PvP stuff, or the option to have that in there. There is a little bit. You can pick up the bounty of characters. You can essentially go after another character and form a bounty against them. So a bit of that. It feels like that's one thing that I think a little bit more of that maybe would be fun, but I don't know what they could do about that. If this is it, if this is them tying it off and putting a pin in it and there is no more Outer Rim to come, then I think, yeah, okay, that's cool. I think it's a good point to bow out. All they could do now is add more cards and more characters. I don't know what else they could really do. Maybe scenario stuff, possibly. It is what it is, the sandbox game. So we could maybe have more of what we've got. And I think they could push out maybe just more cards, to be honest. And there's no need to add much in the way of mechanisms. Just having ships is kind of cool, and the characters is kind of cool. And just more of this is kind of cool. I don't think it needs anything else added to it. It's a light game and fun to play. So if you liked Outer Rim and you held on to it, or you just enjoyed the base game anyway, then this, in my opinion, is a no-brainer, because it does just more of the good stuff that you enjoyed. If you've been on the fence up to now, yes, it completes the game, I could say. It makes it worthwhile. However, outlay is quite significant now, I think. You're talking about 70, 80 quid to get all of it. Which, is this a 70, 80 pound game? I don't know. It probably isn't. So that's what I come to. So if you fence that on that, there's Fireflies you want to option, or Zia, which is the game I couldn't pick up the other day, or other options, and you could probably pick up Zero actually for the similar price as what you would for this, but it is Star Wars, so there is that. It's Star Wars, and it's kind of a nice mix of characters and things. So yeah, I on the whole enjoyed it. I thought it was fun. It's one I will keep hold of because I did enjoy Outer Rim. I just felt it was played out. There is at least now a bit more legs in the old deer, and which is cool. As I say, it's enough to add a little bit more of everything we liked, which was cool. So there you go. That is the Outer Rim expansion unfinished business. That is a mini first play review of that. That was component overview. What more could you possibly need in your life? Thank you for tuning in. I've been Mike B. This has been Who Dares Rolls. Do not forget to like, share and subscribe. All those things are terribly important. And if you're feeling particularly just full of it, you can go over to Patreon and patronise us, which is always nice. And we want your money. But that's it. That's pretty much it. Yeah. So right, have a good one. Carry on playing games and all that stuff. Stay safe out there and all that. And I'll catch you up in the next video, whenever that should drop it. But for the time being, there you go. What more could you need? Absolutely nothing. That's what I say. Jolly good. Ta-ta.